What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Out of the Basement. Today, we are continuing our Game of Thrones discussion. Of course, I'm Nate. I'm joined with Justin.
What's up, guys?
Steven.
Howdy.
And Connor.
You thought me dead.
But he's back for the second episode in a row.
New record.
It's a new record. It's a new record for a year. Of course, we are discussing Season 8, Episode 3, The Long Night. Of course, this is a spoiler review, so if you haven't watched the episode, turn this video off, go watch the episode, and then come back. Or watch the episode because you don't care about spoilers.
Don't even go on Twitter. Because people just nonchalantly drop spoilers. It's oddly just for Game of Thrones that I see people just, yeah, that thing happened.
Yeah, I couldn't watch it until today. We're filming this video on a Monday, and I just did not look at any social media at all. I didn't even want to risk it. I was just like, I'm staying off because I don't want anything spoiled for this episode. So let's just jump into it, Connor. You're our guide here. You got the notes. Take us away.
Well, I wanted to divide this, since this is all purely at Winterfell. It's the battle for Winterfell. I just wanted to divide this up into the different, sort of tiers of battle. In this case, the Dothraki would kind of be the pawns.
Yep. They have a really cool moment at first when Melisandre lights their swords on fire. And I was
rocks.
Yeah, I was like, all right, this is going to be badass. And then they all just die.
I thought that was a really good shot, though, of seeing all the lights, slowly being snuffed out. I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
I thought the Dothraki were going to come back as whites.
Some of them do.
Well, yeah, but when they initially first come back, some of them were just running back in retreat. So I was like, I kind of thought they were all going to come back as zombies.
That was mildly terrifying, though, when you just see it's like a wave of the undead.
Yeah.
And it's just completely towering over everyone.
Yeah, and it shows the one Dothraki guy charging, and he's like, oh.
Yeah. I was like, okay, that's kind of terrifying. It's like some World War Z.
Yeah, I thought the beginning of the episode was kind of scary.
Yeah.
When they're just looking off into the blackness, I was like, I'm kind of getting the heebie-jeebies right now.
True.
But the episode was too dark.
Yeah, we could talk about that for a little bit. It's very obviously a stylistic choice that the episode was very dark.
Also makes it easier to hide special effects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also true.
That is true, but as I was watching the battle, I felt like a soldier in that battle.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell if the figure that you see in the shadows, is that going to be a white or is that going to be a fellow soldier?
Right.
I think it was pretty obvious that it was done intentionally just to encompass the chaos of medieval warfare.
Right.
And especially, this takes place in a medieval society where they just have candles.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And it's nighttime.
If you were having a battle at night, you wouldn't have, the street lights lining Westeros. Yeah. But yeah.
So that was Melisandre's first big moment, was lighting the swords. That was a bust. And then we had the trenches.
Yeah.
Which she had to light simply because Dany also couldn't see.
True.
Which I see some people calling that a plot convenience, that she would randomly be there. But she is a witch who doesn't need, food or water. She could have just been lingering in the outskirts of Winterfell and just waiting.
Well, and it's established very early on in the series that she makes it a point to say that, she has a vision or whatever of herself dying in the north. Mm-hmm. So, she obviously feels the need to fulfill that destiny in a way.
And still wants to serve who she thinks is the savior, Jon Snow.
Yeah.
Despite her banishment, was like, fuck that, I'm going to be there, I'm going to do this.
Which clearly her help was needed. And I did like how, at first I was kind of like, okay, how are they going to combat the dragons? But then I totally forgot that they can just kind of summon, a snowstorm, essentially. So
yeah.
I kind of liked that, how it didn't make the human characters entirely too overpowered.
Yeah.
Kind of brought them down a little bit, because when you think about it, it's like the whites die instantly the minute they catch on fire, so...
Right.
It's like her and Jon could just be running back and forth, just lighting them all on fire.
Well, it was kind of cool because we had that, and we had, the trenches work for... Trenches are effective for a moment, and then it almost reminded me of Infinity War, the masses just sort of killing themselves to build a ladder to get in.
Yeah.
And kind of when everyone retreats, it's the Unsullied, their whole goal is just to protect the retreat.
Which that was kind of badass. I like seeing the Unsullied shine because they don't fear death like everyone else does. So they're just like, yeah, let's do it.
Some real 300
the
vibes.
phalanx.
Yeah. I totally thought we were going to end up seeing like...
And they were like grunting. And,
yeah. I was like, am I watching 300 right now?
I can't see too.
Is that King Leonidas?
So after last week, we had Brienne being knighted, and we had here Jamie kind of seeing her almost. We had a lot of seeing people get overcome, and someone witnessing that and going in to save them. I think the Jamie Brienne thing was like that. In this, we had obviously when Sam gets saved.
Yeah. A lot of close calls.
A lot of close calls, and I've seen a lot of complaints about that because, I mean, full spoilers. None of the like top tier characters died in this episode. Did that?
I mean, Theon's a pretty main character,
right? But it's not like it's not
like Jon or
it's not like Ned Stark dying.
Right.
I totally thought Brienne was going to kick the bucket just based on how
happy the previous moment.
I was like, okay, they're setting us up to just rip our soul out here, but thankfully that didn't happen. I didn't want her to die, but I was fully expecting it.
Just real quick, if you guys want me to read off, I have the list of just everyone who died.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Made sure to put in all of our fallen soldiers, so almost the entire Dothraki, because you do see like a group retreating. You got some stragglers. And just like, I would say a large X amount of soldiers from the following armies of the Unsullied, the Knights of the Vale, the Northern Banners, that they have just the Northern soldiers, and then Wildlings, and then even some common folk in the Crypt.
Yeah, true.
And so those are nameless characters. And Lady Mormont, Theon, Jorah Mormont, Ed, if you don't know who that is, I had to Google his name. It's just the Night's Watch guy. Beric Dondarrion, Melisandre, Night King, and of course that, since he died, the White Walkers die, and then Ice Viserion.
Yeah. I totally thought for a brief moment that Melisandre was going to bring back Beric again. Just because it was very convenient that he was like dying and she was right there. I was like, oh, are they really going to try and like bring him back one more time? But I mean, and then I remembered that she established that she never had like this similar power set that like Thoros had. Yeah. Like he was much stronger than she was in terms of
revivals.
The red witchiness.
Well, okay, so the Dothraki thing raises the question for me, does that totally kill off the Khaleesi title for Dany?
I mean, pretty much, because it was like the Dothraki and Jorah were the only people that ever referred to her as Khaleesi, so...
Jorah's death was exactly what you expected.
Right.
Like dying protecting.
Yeah. I like that she picked up a sword.
Yeah.
It was a cool touch. Lady Mormont's death was... she was the ultimate badass. I think we can all agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very brave, very brave.
Yeah.
Getting her chest crushed and took down a giant, like...
Yeah, true.
It's pretty badass.
Of course, I mean, she was easily a fan favorite, so of course they had to make her death, like, badass
noteworthy,
in a way, yeah.
So you mentioned the crypt, and I just want to say, it was kind of one of those things where everyone kind of talked about, okay, like, they're going into the crypt where, like, dead are buried. Seems like a horrible idea. I felt like that seemed too obvious, so I didn't expect it. Like
I actually, for whatever reason, completely just forgot about that there are dead remains in the crypt, and I just was like, oh.
It's like when they go to a cemetery in a zombie movie, and you're like, oh, what's the worst thing that's gonna happen here? I wonder.
I was expecting Sean Bean to return.
Dude, I was... Like, obviously his head was put on a spike, but it would have been so comical and cheesy, but, like, if he would have just come out as a zombie, like, holding his head.
Or, like
hey, Sansa, give your papa a kiss.
Or Robb Stark, he has the wolf head.
Yeah. I mean...
That'd be terrifying, actually.
But I did think we were going to... I thought we were going to see some of the notable Starks come back to life, but instead they were just kind of like nondescript zombies, essentially.
Yeah. Like, that was the last possible chance for Lady Stoneheart.
Yeah. That's
Dude,
what I was thinking,
honestly, I was like, here we go. We're finally going to get at least a little Lady Stoneheart reference. Nothing.
No such thing.
Nothing.
But down in the crypt, I did really enjoy. I really, really enjoyed the interaction between Tyrion and Sansa. When Sansa says, you were the best of them, but then points out how, like, it still wouldn't have worked because she's pissed that he's loyal to Daenerys, which I found the tension they're moving. It's clearly like the seeds of what's left to come.
When they were like pinned down, and they're like both looking at each other very somberly, and then they pull the knives out and hold hands. I almost thought they were gonna kill themselves.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Is this really gonna? That would have
sucked so bad.
Yeah,
though.
yeah. Like, I'm not saying I want the main characters to die because I love all the remaining main characters, but in that moment, that would have been so tragic. It would almost have been beautiful in a way.
And that's when like the sad piano music started playing too. I'm like,
I totally thought the same thing, Buck. I was just like, they are not, or I assumed that one of them was going to kill themselves, and then like the battle would have been over, kind of like a little Mist, the movie The Mist.
Oh
yeah.
Like kind of like
where the Punisher kills himself.
Kind of like one of those scenarios where I just killed everyone I love, and we're fine now.
Yeah,
I'm Tom Jane.
Another dynamic that we got to see kind of come full circle was when Arya. So Arya's got that. What are we calling it? A staff, like.
Yeah, but
But she has a badass moment with it.
Snow shovel bow staff.
Doesn't last long. Gets quickly overcome.
True.
So we had some very, I would agree, kind of like horror film elements with her hiding in the library.
Going back to like the initial when she started fighting, I love that they brought back the theme of the Bravosi theme, like her training when she was in the house of, what do you call that? The House of Black and White.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, because that's one of my favorite story arcs of the show is Arya's arc. Like, I love the whole like her training to be a faceless assassin, and obviously it pays off. But we'll get to that.
We'll get there. Well, but then when she's overwhelmed, but she is fighting again, I think she has Melisandre kind of gives her like the heart to heart, and the whole blue eyes thing comes into play.
Like how many eyes you'll shut.
Yeah, shut for good.
It's coming full circle. It's like poetry.
It rhymes. George Lucas directed Game of Thrones.
So, I mean, did Littlefinger have green eyes? So it's like she got some of them green, blue, and brown eyes.
I don't remember.
But then the Hound is hiding. He's like giving up. He's like, we're fucked. He's just freaked out. But then when he sees like her, it's like he springs back into action.
Yeah,
that was a very satisfying moment, emotionally speaking. You might disagree. I don't know.
Yeah, he was kind of giving you that look.
What?
I don't know.
No, I mean, I do agree. I was thinking about how it like kind of annoys me that he still has like such a big fear of fire, and like that he was just kind of cowering.
Mm-hmm.
He has PTSD, Nate.
Yeah,
don't be insensitive.
Yeah, don't be insensitive to Dragon Ice Zombie show. But no, it just because everyone else was fighting their asses off, and then the last character I would expect to be cowering somewhere would be the Hound,
one of the big guns.
So,
but it was at the point of which there was the most fire around.
But he was inside the castle walls at that point. It's not like he was out on the battlefield where the fire was. He was inside.
But he's always pessimistic, though. That's like a trait of his character, that he's always so pessimistic, and he says it's impossible to defeat the dead, blah, blah, blah.
I'm going to say it. My new catchphrase. It felt out of character for the Hound to cower like that. He's never backed down from a fight before.
I don't know.
Yeah, name one fight he backed down from.
He's definitely shown fear of fire before.
But he was inside
he
the
castle. Down from the
Exactly.
The siege. The
Exactly.
Siege of
The siege of King's Landing.
nothing.
yeah. When he's like, "Fuck the king."
Okay,
Fuck
completely
this, and then
different
just
circumstances. I'm talking about for when he's fighting for something he believes in.
Oh, now he's changing what he's saying.
Well, this is the first time he's ever really believed in anything. Well, he almost forgot he did, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Arya."
But I'm still saying he was inside the castle walls. No fire inside the castle walls. He's cowering for no reason inside the castle walls. There's no fire there. It's out of character. I'll say it.
So we also got a dragon chase sequence.
Yeah, true.
I really like the shot where you can see the moon and like the clouds.
Oh yeah, that was a beautiful shot and
Beautiful.
very obviously where all of the special effects money went. The dragon chase, they were like, we gotta show all 3 dragons at once and the Night King and Ghost in the same episode. There's gonna be no more CG for the rest of this.
I mean, I'm down. Just all practical effects from now on.
That's why they did this now. Well, no. So we get. I think that's an interesting thing though, because we get this almost the red herring, right? Like Jon is chasing down the Night King the whole episode, and you're fully expecting kind of the mano a mano, throwdown between those two. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for it the whole time, but it was interesting because like that was the exact type of expectation subversion that Game of Thrones excels at.
Yeah.
You're talking like you were expecting Jon to be the one to kill the Night King, or
I was expecting like a physical.
They totally set it up like the whole episode like it's going to be a showdown between the Night King and Jon, and then obviously they don't end up doing it, which I did. When I was watching the episode, I really did want Jon and the Night King to have a final confrontation, but I'm also satisfied with the way that it turned out with Arya killing the Night King. Mm-hmm. I just kind of wish it. I just wanted the Night King to have a sword fight with someone.
Exactly.
That's all I wanted, and I'm mildly upset that he'd never really got into a sword fight with anyone.
He never did much besides pose and show off his javelin skills.
But then you realize that's not the kind of villain the Night King ever was.
Right, but I just wanted it.
Yeah. Well, it's like This was a Star Trek battle. You wanted a Star Wars battle.
Yeah. That's a really good way of putting it.
No, I get that completely. But Jon being immediately surrounded, like he thinks he's got him. Jon thinks he's gonna get that moment. We think he's gonna get that, and then it's like, nope.
Night King, come at me, bros, again.
Yeah.
And the fucking smirk as he does that and walks away.
True. I thought that was so weird at first. I was like, the Night King's like smirking. That's strange.
He's like the chicken from Family Guy or something.
He like got like really cocky out of nowhere.
But so I will say this was strangely the most human we've seen Bran in years. I think he looks genuinely mildly scared as the Night King's coming at him, and relieved when that's not the end. Let's talk about Theon for a minute.
Sure.
Thoughts?
I think it's a great conclusion to his arc. It's sad to see him go. I'm sad to see him go. But the reason I think he has a great arc is because he starts off cocky, and then he turns, he acts cocky as if he's brave, but then it's revealed that he's a coward. And then, he kind of finds redemption in wanting to serve the Starks again. And he goes from being a coward to willing to literally charge death in the face. He
goes from being Reek.
Yeah. He's accepted death, and he wants to go out honorably, and I think he also needed verbal confirmation from Bran, that when Bran says, "You're a good man, Theon," or "Thank you," he says. I think he needed that verbal confirmation that they forgave him, because it's obvious that he's ashamed of betraying Robb and betraying the Starks in general. So I think it's a satisfying arc, but I am sad to see him go.
Well said.
Yep. Don't really have anything to add to that.
I've taken Winterfell, old man.
But, so that leaves us with Arya having the most Arya moment ever.
True.
She gets it done. She gets things done.
Which is foreshadowed, like, X season when Bran is asked, like, who could kill the Night King, and he says, no one.
True.
Like, looking back, I'm like, ooh, that's so cool. Because, I don't know, I'm a big fan of, like, the faceless assassin lore.
Yeah.
Like, Jaqen Hagar. And
Darkman.
yeah. And a lot of people are saying they're not satisfied, or I even heard people saying, like, it's unrealistic how she snuck up on the Night King.
Yeah, she did.
However, like, she's literally, like, the faceless assassins are literally ninjas. Like, I call back to when the 3 name kills, like, they're in a fortress, and Jaqen Hagar kills the 3 people without being seen. True. Even though there's people everywhere, like, they're obviously can kill people with being unseen. And, I mean, they're kind of literally ninjas, in a way. So, I mean, and it's foreshadowed, like, when Jon was like, how'd you sneak up on me? Like, oh, yeah, Arya's good at sneaking up on people. And, I mean, the White Walkers were all just standing there, too.
Basking in their victory.
Yeah. So I think they were all but, they won. And I just don't think they were expecting no one to come and kill the Night King.
That's a good point. Because when it first happened, I thought...
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of thought that too, but I thought back to that whole season of her training at the House of Black and White. And I just thought really about what the Faceless Assassins are. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're ninjas. So
You've converted me.
Yeah, I was definitely in the same boat with you, but now that Justin said that, I guess that does make a lot of sense. I totally called it though, and that the whole Night King, everything, the storyline was going to be wrapped up in one episode.
It's I have like a love-hate relationship with that because I love that it was Arya, because everyone was expecting Jon and they say it in like the little thing that plays after the episode, like Jon is usually like the savior character, but I thought it was awesome, and I think, like, a theme of that episode was the religion of, like, I don't know what they call it, like, the god of death.
Mm-hmm.
And, when Melisandre says, what do we say to the god of death? Not today.
Oh,
like,
I got chills.
Yeah, like, that's a callback from, like, literally every single season. And so I'm really satisfied that it was Arya. I think that's the coolest thing they could have done. However, I do agree with you, Nate, that the show, Game of Thrones, literally started. The first opening shot of the show before you're introduced to Ned, the Starks, the Lannisters, is beyond the wall, and the Night's Watch are, like, getting spooked off by literally White Walkers. Like, it starts with the White Walkers. I think it would have been better if it ended with that arc, because the whole show has kind of been about the rise of the Night King.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how the books portray the importance of the Night King and the Army of the Dead, but it's almost like at a certain point, like, they started off the show really wanting to lean into that, but then at some point they decided to kind of like shift more towards
more on the humans,
more towards the human,
or how you put it earlier, the monsters within ourselves.
Oh yeah, well, there's the 2 different types of horror stories, right? It's the monster out there, or the monster is us.
Yeah.
And clearly that's the route we're going from here on out.
But yeah.
Which that is also a theme of Game of Thrones, is like greed and becoming a monster. And so like I just wish they would have done the Cersei stuff first, and then the Night King, because that just seemed like higher stakes. Even with the Night King, like, they're literally trying to destroy everything.
True.
And erase everything.
Because it's like, now that they've defeated the Night King and the Army of the Dead, like, Cersei and her 20,000 men from the Golden Company, that's like jack shit. They literally,
she is like the remainder of the Lannister army.
Right, but they survived an unstoppable, unresting enemy.
But they lost a lot of their soldiers too, though.
True.
Plus, King's Landing is dragon-proof now.
But at the same time, like, the Iron Throne is kind of like the symbol of Game of Thrones. So the fight for the throne being the actual ending, I can see that as well.
Plus, we've got this weird in-group conflict now between Jon and Dany. and Sansa.
And I mean, maybe they were originally going to end it with like White Walker related stuff, but people were just more interested in the
political intrigue.
Yeah, aspect of it and the power struggle. So
there's just two things that I really totally forgot to mention, and that's we have the moment, expectation subverting moments of Dany lighting up the Night King.
True.
To no impact.
Oh, I knew from. I was just like, that's not doing anything.
But I kind
Still
of
cool.
I kind of similarly when the dead dragon is like kind of there's John's kind of going mano a mano with that.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of thought for a second if you follow the interpretation that John is the Song of Ice and Fire, I was like, what if that just doesn't impact him?
Yeah, true. I was thinking that with like all of the fire in general and everything, I was like, John's.
Oh yeah, because Daenerys is fireproof.
Yeah, so
maybe Jon is too.
Right, so
and ice fire.
that's that's what I was thinking, was that this episode he was gonna get like accidentally lit on fire, or like something was gonna happen along the lines of him having to do something with fire, and it was gonna be revealed that he was like fireproof too. But then that didn't happen.
Yeah,
but I thought it was going to.
That's really, I think that is how I would sum up this episode. But that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I'm good with that, actually.
Yeah, I feel like we have gripes with the episode, but overall I do think it was a pretty solid episode.
Yeah.
The battle was pretty satisfying in general.
And I'm kind of hoping this means, the pacing and the writing of what do we have, 4 left?
3 left.
I'm hoping we're definitely going to get more focus on those things from Game of Thrones that I actually
like character driven,
like more than the battles.
Yeah.
I feel like next episode will definitely be like a cool down episode, and then it'll probably like pick back up for the,
or it'll just be like pure like look how evil Cersei is.
Yeah, like in case you didn't hate her enough already.
And did one of you guys predict last week that Jaime's gonna kill Cersei?
Yeah,
or was that...
It's a common...
He said that, and then I said, well, maybe it'll be...
Tyrion.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I jumped side by side.
I think I'm in that boat with you now, because, he's the Kingslayer. He's going to be the Queenslayer. Like, he killed the Mad King, and now Cersei's obviously a Mad Queen.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna be
now he's never going to hear the end of that.
Yeah. and they're still going to grief him about that.
The biggest, he was justified.
Yeah.
Literally just going to burn a whole city with wildfire. Yeah, I'd turn on my king.
Especially Ned Stark being the most mad about it when his father and brother were literally roasted alive in their armor. But Ned Stark's the one that's like, hey, like, are you sure you should be mad at him? He kind of avenged your father and brother.
But that's just like a product of the society that they live in. Like, oaths and tradition is like so much more important.
It is tradition. Very interesting to go back though and watch those old episodes with like the things now.
There's so much foreshadowing, it's absurd.
Yeah.
Like, even because I watched the entire series. Literally finished my rewatch of the entire series the week before this season started airing, and there's just so much foreshadowing. Even in season 1, there's foreshadowing of stuff that happens in like season 5, and you're just like, this is insane.
Like especially like the stuff that's blowing my mind now is like the Arya stuff that was foreshadowed. Like before Arya, I guess she had killed like the one person with needle, but. Like, before she was, like, a killer. Like, how Melisandre says, like, something yada yada, like, the eyes you'll shut forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that was before she was even, like, a faceless assassin. Green eyes. Blue eyes. Brown eyes.
Penny and a dime.
What do we got left?
I was just going to say that's kind of... I mean, we kind of just talked about going forward. It's clearly the battle for the throne. It's an interesting thing that we closed out the big crisis, but I'm very curious to see what they do.
True. Yeah. So, final thoughts on the episode? Anyone want to add anything?
I really enjoyed it. I think the highlight is Arya killing the Night King, even though I probably am going to wish they did that later. But I think Theon's arc was super good. I mean, Jorah died in a way that we all expected, but they say in like the little thing after, like, he would have it no other way.
Right.
Like, he would have his death go any other way. So I was a little confused. For the sake of time, I won't go super in depth, but I was a little confused about the numbers of the armies. Always been confusing to me throughout the course of the show, whether it's Robb and his 18,000 men somehow taking on 60,000 Lannister soldiers. But, so, and I also did some research. Okay, but like, if you remember the episode...
Crackpot.
But if you remember the episode where Daenerys wins over the Dothraki, there's like hundreds of thousands of them. It's like, where did they all go? And then if you see in the Battle of the Bastards at the end, thousands of Knights of the Vale show up. It's like, where did they all go? And I did some Googling. There's apparently like 18,000 foot soldiers from the Knights of the Vale. And it's like, we see like 10.
And Sir Royce was nowhere to be found randomly.
Right.
They're just like...
And even the Unsullied, they're supposed to be like, what, 8,000 total? Like, yeah, some were lost during the arena scene and the Casterly Rock, taking that, but like, there should still be like...
There was like 45 of them.
there should have been... Like,
there are dozens of us!
There should have been thousands upon thousands of soldiers there. And I mean, maybe they were saving a bunch for taking the Iron Throne. But then again, like
that would not be smart of them.
Yeah, the Horde.
I can't imagine they'd want to save.
Yeah.
They were all on their union break.
Yeah.
Because
like, okay, you guys just let's go over there for a while.
Yeah. So I mean, I am a bit confused about the numbers.
Yeah.
But maybe that'll get cleared up next episode.
Could be. Buck, anything? You were pretty quiet this whole episode.
Yeah, I mean, because basically you guys were saying what I was already thinking. But I think I'd like the episode more now that we've had this conversation, specifically for what Justin brought to light. Because I did think at first it was cheap.
Yeah.
I was like, you gotta be joking. Like, I love Arya. I mean, it's not a character complaint on her, but it's just like you said, the entirety of Game of Thrones was leading up to this.
And it was kind of like a, that's it moment.
It's kind of like a deflate, like, really. But with now the hindsight that I have, thanks to Justin's knowledge,
he's got a big brain.
Oh God, no.
I see it in a different light.
Sweet.
And I like it. I like it a lot more.
Connor?
You know, the more I think about this, Arya killing the Night King was kind of like Anakin Skywalker taking out the not Death Star from Phantom Menace.
And on that note, we're just we're gonna just leave it at that.
But no, it was a great episode. We've said everything.
I like that the big battle episodes are spread out. Because, like, every once in a while, it's super satisfying. But if it's a show where that's all you would get, it would just be another stereotypical boom boom show.
True.
So, I'm really satisfied that, I mean, this is probably going to be, like, the one big battle episode of the season.
There might be a big final battle.
We got dragons versus elephants. Just wait.
One of my coworkers said it. It was like Michael Bay directed this episode of Game of Thrones.
Dang, that's dirty. That's low.
He didn't like the episode, but I thought that was funny.
So, what did you guys think of the episode? Let us know in the comments down below. Of course, if you enjoyed our recap review discussion, don't forget to leave a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. We're still going to be covering Game of Thrones up until it's all over, and we all have a nice good cry on camera together. We're teasing the cry. It's going to happen. Of course, turn notifications on so you know when we are uploading, because YouTube no longer thinks that subscribing is good enough. I'm Nate. I'm joined with Justin.
See you guys later.
And Steven.
Take care.
And of course, Connor.
Very well.
And we will see you guys next time on Out of the Basement.